David Duke, and if you don't know who David Duke is, and I'm sure everybody here does know who David Duke is, but he was the former KKK guy. He did hold congressional office. He had for one term, but he now wants to run again. He wants to run for the U.S. Senate in Louisiana. Now you'd say, boy, he's done. I mean, David Duke is wildly regarded as an open racist, anti-Semite, and yet he wants to make a serious, by the way, he's a Holocaust denier. I mean, throw that in for good measure. He wants to make a serious run for the Senate in Louisiana. And we have a little bit of David Duke on tape to remind everyone of the magic of David Duke.
I believe in equal rights for all and respect for all Americans. However, what makes me different is I also demand respect for the rights and the heritage of European Americans. I passed the only bill in America forbidding affirmative action programs that racially discriminate against the best qualified. Thousands of special interest groups stand up for African Americans, Mexican Americans, Jewish Americans, etc., etc. The fact is that European Americans need at least one man in the United States Senate, one man in the Congress who will defend their rights and heritage. We must stop the massive immigration and ethnic cleansing of the people whose forefathers created America.
Look, European Americans have the whole setup defending them. It's not the idea that they need one man is crazy. I mean, that should seem obvious, but somehow that you could flip it and suggest that they're the minority, that the white majority for whom the whole culture is rigged somehow need an advocate. It's just more pablum and rhetoric and hate speech from David Duke. He suggested that the Jews control everything. He's a real Jew supremacist conspiracy guy. And look, he's KKK tried and true, but he is certainly not casting a broad tent. It's a big white tent that sits right over this guy, and unfortunately, I think he'll find followers.
Yeah, and I think they've often had, the white supremacists previously have had candidates that they've wanted to put forward for president, and they've, but their preferred candidate, or the normal candidate, they ceased to advocate for him and they ceased to support him because they saw a much better path with Donald Trump, because they saw a much better path of success, and he was echoing enough of their sentiments. And so so Donald Trump has emboldened David Duke to take this next step. And as I said, looking at this and looking at what he's talking about, and this whole idea of America first, this whole idea of law and order, which is this very sinister echoing of the Nixon sentiment that was at that time in 1968, what we've just been alluding to. And it's really a dog whistle to black people are scary and we need to lock them up. And it's leading us down the path of this is where we got to, this is why we are where we are now, because of the mass incarceration, the disproportionate mass incarceration of African Americans in this country. So law and order is not what is required, and certainly not the type of law and order that Donald Trump is advocating, and certainly not the views that David Duke is espousing. When I saw that he was going to be running, and the one scintilla of relief that I got was that I saw that Roger Villiers, the chairman of the Republican Party of Louisiana, condemned his application and condemned him standing. So that gave me at least some pause for comfort, but it was small and scant comfort at best, because this is so troubling, Mark. I cannot overstate how profoundly worried I am by where this country is going and the fear-based nature on which it is based. It is fine to have vast differences. It is fine to call people names. I don't care about that. But it is when it gets into this very dangerous territory, and you see, this is Louisiana. Let's remind ourselves, Louisiana is where an innocent black man was shot and killed when he was pulled over by a police officer, and then 3 police officers were then shot and killed by a sniper who was pissed off about it. And this is David Duke is standing in that state.
Yeah, the blood's not even dry from those incidents that you're referring to, and he's doing this, and I think you're very right, Elliot, to point out that this Trump presidential run has kicked the door open for a lot of guys like David Duke to get in as well. And by the way, they're not even that clever. I mean, look at David Duke. He is nakedly a racist. He's unapologetic, and he I guess, code some of it in, European people need an advocate as well. But the truth is, he's well known, and as Elliot says, he's been repudiated by party leaders in Louisiana. But the next generation of David Dukes will likely be a little more clever. And Donald Trump, as clunky as we think he is, somehow has appealed to Americans in sufficient quantities to buoy him to a nomination.
Yeah, I mean,
go
ahead.
As you say, this coded speech, or even less than coded speech, seems to work.
Yeah, it's this call to be introverted, to be introspective, for isolationism, for independence, to put America first. It's all part of this insidious strategy that leads to a very dark place.
Well, and look, you may be out there going, well, yeah, but America should be first. Yeah, we get it. We're not ready to completely turn tail and run on America, but there has to be some sense of nuance about it all. I mean, the world is sort of complicated. Don't know if anybody's quite hip to that, but it's mostly gray. So these black and white solutions, and by the way, there are not even any specific solutions, as we've said, just don't really apply.
The other thing I just wanted to mention is the fact that, and just going back to that, just jumping around a little bit, but it also does apply to David Duke, is the nonchalance, particularly with this Laurie individual, this delegate. It was the nonchalance with which he said, well, I just want to be proud about being white. What's the harm in that? I don't see it. It's okay to have black pride. Why can't I have white pride? And that is the same message, actually, that David Duke is propagating.
Right. That's
and
exactly
it comes
right.
back to the points that, for a very good reason. But it's that nonchalance. It's that dare I say, I'm going to say it's unsophisticated, but we can't dismiss it just because it's unsophisticated. We have to try to unpack it, understand it, and diffuse it. Because if we just dismiss it as, oh, they're just a bunch of idiots who don't understand it, that's the problem, because then it persists.
Absolutely. They get traction, and they
Correct.
get sufficient traction that they win elections. So I think that's absolutely right.